Greetings! Today I'm going to be showing you how to turn a random old modern hoodie into a medieval style hood like this. This is a fast, cheap, and easy way to add a new piece to a starter medieval costume. If you've got a young kid that you want to make a costume for, or you are first starting out going to a Larp, or you want to start dressing up for Renaissance fairs, this is a fantastic way to add a hood piece without having to spend any money and only a very little bit of time. So let's get into it. So here's what the hoodie looks like when it's already on me. As you can see, I've got the sleeves already removed, and there's a cool thing that we can do with those that I'll talk about next week. But for now, let's go ahead and get into the cowl. So the first thing we need to do is decide where we want the lowest part of the cowl to be. We can go ahead and look at a couple of examples of hoods here on the internet to sort of get a feel for what we want to go for. And then what we need to do is just mark either with a Sharpie or a paperclip or a pin or whatever you happen to have around the house. Again, I want this to be easy. Go ahead and mark where you want to start that line and where you want to finish it, and then lay it out and go ahead and cut it. Keep in mind that if you have a hoodie like mine, you're going to have to remove the zipper, and you're not going to be able to just cut all the way through that. So you could also cut the zipper out first. I'm not going to do that because I think it'll be easier to size when everything is together and on me, and I don't have to deal with two pieces coming apart separately. For taking the zipper out, you could use a seam ripper. Not everyone has access to that, so I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm just going to go ahead and cut just along the zipper here with a pair of scissors. Keep in mind that up here towards the top, you're going to have this step where the zipper used to be. There is now going to be nothing, but the hood is still going to be there. So you're going to have to come all the way forward when we sew that up, and that's going to make the head entrance smaller. So let's go ahead and jump over to my workspace, and we can go ahead and start cutting this thing. So I'm going for a round front for this hood. So something that you can do is once you put it on, and I would recommend taking the sleeves off because it'll just be a little easier. And again, there's something cool we can do with that later. But if you just go ahead and press here on the side of your chest so you can see where the fabric naturally folds, you can then pin that right there, and you'll have a nice natural curved line for the front. All right, one last thing I want to say before I start cutting this. If you want to go for a point in the front, or even if you want sort of a more shallow look, don't start cutting from right up in the shoulder, because that would be my first instinct too. Because what's going to happen is you're going to end up with this tiny little point of fabric that hangs right on your shoulder, and then it's going to look really awkward for the rest of the piece. Don't do that. If you want it to drape over your shoulder, you can't cut it starting here. You have to cut it lower. So remember, if you want to hem the edge so that it doesn't look raw, you're going to need some seam allowance for the edge when you're done cutting. So I'm cutting much further down than I want the final product to be. And I'm just eyeballing it. Alright, now I gotta cut out the zipper. This is pretty, I mean, at least for me, this is pretty self-explanatory. You pretty much have your guiding line right there. Again, you could use a seam ripper if you wanted. But honestly, that's going to take a lot of time. And the idea here is that this is a starting piece anyway. Eventually this will be replaced theoretically. And if you're not using it that often and you don't want to replace it, then it doesn't really matter that it looks super professional anyway. I should mention, if you do it the way I just did it, you can't reuse the zipper. So if you care about that, then be cognizant of that. I suppose you could cut it and avoid damaging the zipper, but I didn't do that because I didn't think it through. There. Now you can learn from my mistake. Pretty much the only thing we need to do now, I'm going to go ahead and take out the hoodie string if the fates will let me do that, please. It's totally sewn to the inside. That's mildly annoying, but you know, maybe yours won't be like that. So now what you want to do is you want to go ahead and flip the hood inside out, and we're going to go ahead and sew these edges. Alright, if you wanted to hem this raw edge right here, I might recommend that you do it before you sew it together. Alright, I'm doubling the thread up on itself. I folded it in half and then threaded both ends through the needle just to give myself a little bit of extra strength. I would get a little closer to show you how I am stitching this, but I'm using black thread and black fabric, so I will go ahead and post or link a tutorial video in the description for the type of stitch that I'm using. If I remember correctly, the video is probably only about 1 minute and 3 seconds, so it's not too bad. Or if you know someone or you have a sewing machine, you could be done in seconds. Alright, I might double that up to make it a little bit more sturdy, but now we can go ahead and tape the hood. Flip it back so it's right side out. And try it out and see how we did. Alright, there we go. Let me step in so you can get kind of a closer look at it. These kind of annoy me. I didn't realize I wasn't going to be able to take those out. I may just cut them. But the overall shape, no, it's not historically correct material, but this is a fantastic way to get a cowl or a hood done super cheaply with only probably about 30 or so minutes of total work. If you have a decorative pin, you could even add that in, and it'll really help give you that little bit of extra medieval flair. And it actually looks really good. And if you stick it into the clothing underneath, it'll help keep the cowl from flapping up in the wind or something too. So this is actually part one of a larger video that's going to be coming out later next week, where I'm going to show you how to put together a starter basic medieval costume, either for your first LARP or if you want to start dressing up at Renaissance fairs, out of articles of clothing or items that you already have around your house. So if you found this video helpful or inspirational, go ahead and share it with a friend who you think might also need to step up their medieval costume game. If you liked the video, please like the video and consider subscribing so you don't miss next week's video as well. Thanks for watching and good luck on your adventures.